Macro is one of the most confusing things to learn as a top laner. There's a billion variables to consider based on what champion you're playing, who is fed on each team, what the next objective is, and everything in between. What's worse is that even if you make the right call, your team screwing something up could make all your effort go to waste anyway. As overwhelming as macro can seem, there are a few basic strategies that the best players use every single game to maximize their chances of success regardless of their own teammates' performances. That's precisely what we'll cover in this guide. After watching, you will understand the core macro principles that allow you to have actual game impact as a top laner, letting you hard carry games reliably. The first thing to understand about macro as a top laner is that your main responsibility is in the side lane, away from your team, and for good reason. If all 5 players on both teams just grouped mid 24/7, there's 2 main consequences. 1, farm would be going to waste, and all of you would be sharing the resources in a single lane. Needless to say, this isn't good. In League, whichever team has more gold and experience tends to win, so it's very important you are constantly getting resources all to yourself from an isolated lane. 2, if everyone is grouped mid, the game is a complete coin flip. A single team fight would decide the outcome of the match. This is not how you climb elo reliably. Pushing inside lane waves towards enemy towers creates a consistent point of pressure on the map every single game. A minion wave at an enemy tower merits a response, and you can take advantage of your opponents being stuck defending waves through some reliable tactics. Your main goal is to balance how often you push side lane waves to pressure the map, while also participating in as many fights as possible with your team. Your lane's role quest does give you a free teleport, which is a great resource to achieve this, but it's not always going to be up for every play. And you don't want to be that AFK top laner that never groups and hopes to win by mindlessly split pushing. If you're tired of guessing when to push, when to group, and when to teleport, our brand new Season 16 Essentials course is finally here, covering everything you need to 1v9 on the most punishing role in the game. It all starts with the lane phase, where we show you the secret wave control techniques challenger players abuse to make the lane completely unplayable for their opponents, from when and how to proxy to a step-by-step walkthrough of how to dominate the first few levels, including the recall timings the best players in the world abuse to always have an advantage. There's even an entire chapter dedicated to playing every matchup possible, from the tricks to survive against your biggest counters to an entire video on how to deal with those annoying ranged top laners. And if that wasn't enough, we also cover everything you need to actually snowball your advantage, not just in lane, but across the entire map, from the exact rotations to make with a lead, to how to use side lane pressure to hand your team free objectives, to the mistakes 99% of top laners make that throw away winning games. So if you're serious about climbing in top lane this season, this is your chance. You can check it all out today with a one-time exclusive discount using the link in the pinned comment or description below. As if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service, you get every penny back. To be a great top laner, you want to learn what we'll call your macro rhythm as a top laner. Your goal most of the time is to go into a side lane and push a minion wave as deep into enemy tower as possible. By doing so, you're forcing someone on the enemy team to come defend their tower. Then, while they're busy clearing the wave you pushed, you group with your team to try and make a play on the other side of the map with a numbers advantage. Why we call this your rhythm is because the theory behind this strategy is that you and your opponent are taking turns doing this. So while you go group with your team, your opponent should technically be pushing the wave into your tower. This forces you to want to go defend and catch the wave while they group with their team. Then you push the wave to their tower, forcing them to defend while you go group again. The idea is that both sides are trying to repeat this process until they get an advantage. You might have an immediate question. If both me and my opponent are doing this, how is this beneficial for me? Aren't we just doing the same thing as each other? Yes and no. First, your opponent might not be doing this and just be playing randomly. This means you'll have an advantage by playing properly. Secondly, there are ways to make this tactic even better, but before we cover that, let's look at a real example of it in action first. Here we have a Scion coming out of base who goes to push the top side lane. He pushes as aggressively as he possibly can deep into enemy territory. After pushing, he cuts through the enemy jungle to group with his team sieging mid. It's important to understand you won't always find an amazing play when you group up with your team. Like this example, Scion is helping siege a bit and got a couple of turret plates with his teammates while grouped up. You don't have to score kills or even an objective when you group. Just being around, getting vision control, helping take a jungle camp, or anything minor is more than good enough. Here's the important part. Notice how on the map, Rengar is pushing top. If we move our camera over there, he's following our theory. While Scion is grouped, he's pushing out the top lane wave. What this means is that Scion's time is coming to an end here. Unless there's something really valuable for you to do by staying grouped, you should likely make your way back up top to repeat the process. So Scion makes his way back up top and catches the next few waves. As he does, he notices a fight happening near mid. So after farming as quickly as he can, he ditches the wave and immediately heads towards the fight. Once he gets to the fight, Scion helps clear up to 2 kills and the trade goes about evenly. But here's what we really want to highlight. Take a look at his CS score compared to the game time. Scion is clearly farming well while still being part of a lot of the action. This strategy is so common because it's extremely effective. You pressure side lane towers, keep your farm up, all while still being able to contribute to fights consistently. Let's talk about a couple of nuances you may want to think about though. The most important detail you absolutely need to keep in mind every time you're doing doing this is that you are on a timer. This is a great example to highlight why. Olaf just made a great play in this fight. He killed multiple players with his team, then he and his Rise could push the top tower and wave together. After basing, the top wave is still really pushed out, so Olaf can now follow our strategy and group up with his team. Grouped up with his Ashe and Braum, Olaf looks to chunk the enemy bot lane duo a bit. They do some okay damage, but nothing crazy. Let's pause on this frame though. Ashe's R is down. So what do you think of this situation? How likely is it that Olaf and his team can make a strong play here? It's not very likely, right? There's not an obvious angle to fight here. This is a common mistake that will come up as you try this strategy. If you linger too long grouped up with your team, you won't get back to your side lane in time. As you can see, Fiora has been pushing top while Olaf starts making his way back there. And here's where Olaf gets punished. Fiora has already pushed the wave into his tower. This means Olaf needs to get to the wave, but she's free to do whatever she wants. So Fiora can just cut off his entrance back to top. Since Olaf is forced to run through her, he's completely screwed. She uses her R to punish him, and Olaf just kills her anyway. Man, we love it when players doing the wrong thing get rewarded. Teaching League sure is fun. This is an important point we want to get across. League macro can depend on a billion variables, like champions, how strong you are, what spells you have up, mechanics, etc. So following everything word for word from a guide you watch is never going to play out perfectly for you each time. That being said, these are rules for a reason. A better example of the problem we were talking about is from this Vayne. As you can see, side lanes are pushed out, so Vayne groups up with her team momentarily to cover them. But the second that she sees Gnar pushing in aggressively, she immediately books it back to bot lane. The goal is to always try to get back to your lane before the minions have hit your tower. This is important, especially in Season 16, where letting your opponent hit a tower even just once is really bad due to the overgrowth mechanic. But secondly, so you don't ever put yourself in a situation like Olaf was in. You won't always outplay your opponent trying to get back to your lane. This is a lucky play that won't always go your way, and luck is not how you climb. The way to fix this mistake is to always be super aware of what you can realistically achieve by staying grouped with your team. If there's no obvious play available, you should be heading back to your lane ASAP so you don't get punished. The nice thing about this strategy is that it's not just you on a timer, it's also your opponent. If you think about it, after you push a wave to go group, your opponent really wants to push their wave as quickly as possible. The faster they push, the less time you have to group. Basically, they're in a big rush to put pressure on you to force you back to the side lane. You can take advantage of this if you're smart. Like in this match, Kennen is doing pretty well for himself, but the rest of his team is doing quite poorly. So he really needs to find a play soon before the game completely collapses. Kennen begins with our macro strategy. He pushes bot lane, then the enemy Akali channels her TP to defend the tower. We're actually going to swap to her POV so you can understand what happens next a bit easier. Kennen, upon seeing the TP, stops pushing and looks to do the standard play of collapsing towards mid. It makes sense. Akali's team is pushing aggressively, so Kennen would have a natural flank by pathing through the jungle. After clearing the wave, Akali scouts the tri-brush with her blue trinket. She has two choices. She can follow Kennen through the jungle, or she can do the standard play of pushing to try and force him back to bottom ASAP. She chooses that, but Kennen was waiting for that and immediately one-shots her when she steps up. Going back to his POV, here's some strategies you can use if you know you can beat whoever came to defend your push 1v1. Like we said, if you push a wave into a tower and someone is there to defend, they have two choices: follow you or push. So as Kennen pretends to collapse mid, he placed a ward in the tri-brush to see what your opponent does. Typically, if you have more time, you want to loop back to a lane brush rather than just stand here, but Akali got here too quickly, so he wouldn't be able to do that without being spotted. And that would make your following pick much easier, but this works too. But let's say that your opponent went through the jungle thinking they were following you. What then? Let's say we did this exact play in top lane. You push the wave, then pretend to collapse through the jungle to a fight in mid, but you don't see anything great to do in mid. So instead, you set a trap. You ward here, then you walk back to a brush near lane. When you see your opponent follow you towards mid, you come out of the brush and immediately push the next wave there. This will probably catch them off guard, letting you quickly push a wave into their tower, maybe get some plates, and then repeat the process all over again. This is what you really want to work on as a top laner. After pushing, collapsing is usually one of the best things you could do, but you also want to mix traps here and there every now and then. Keeping your opponents guessing as to what you're going to do is a great way to consistently catch them off guard. You should now have a very good understanding of what your goals are every time you head to a side lane with our macro rhythm. Push a wave, force an enemy player to defend, and group with a numbers advantage or set a trap. But there's a glaring question we need to answer. What if my opponent doesn't respond to my push? Let's say you crash a wave into an enemy tower and then you go group, but but no one on the enemy team goes to defend it. What do you do then? The answer to this is really simple. You don't have to do anything. If you go to group with your team as 5 and your opponent just stay huddled as 5, then that means that they're missing farm in that lane you pushed. So by doing nothing, you're coming out ahead anyway. Basically, you shouldn't feel pressured to force a fight unless you need to. There's the other obvious answer, which is to keep pushing. If no one is coming to defend when you crash waves at a tower, then you can just use your wave to push aggressively and get turret plates or an entire tower. But in low elo, we all know things don't always go to plan. Your team flames you for not grouping, the enemy ignores your push and dives, and suddenly that simple decision lost you the game. Trust us, we get it. There's so many scenarios that can play out, and it would be impossible to cover them all in this guide, which is exactly why we made our top lane essentials course, breaking down every possible situation and the macro rules that actually work in your games. Check it out using the link in the description below. But to really pressure side lanes properly, you need to remember an extremely important concept that most top laners fail at. And this is why side laning never feels effective, or why things always go wrong when you leave your team. You need to learn to match tempo with your teammates. The worst mistakes players make in League is that either they rely too much on their teammates to win games, or even worse, you disregard what they're doing completely. You shouldn't rely on having good teammates to climb elo, but you should still try to synergize with them every game. You can't literally 1v5 a match entirely on your own. You ideally always want to be pressuring at the exact same time as your teammates are. So, for example, if your other 4 teammates are doing dragon, you don't want to be in base. You should already be hitting a tower on the other side of the map. This forces your opponents to send equal members to match both points of pressure, 4 to dragon and 1 to defend you. But let's say you're pushing top while 3 of your teammates are in base. That means the enemy team has 3 free players to go wherever they want, so they can commit up to 4 people on you without any consequence. By matching when your allies are contesting the map, it also makes you or your teammates' deaths less punishing, since you're trading back evenly or favorably. For example, as this Umbessa pushes bot lane, her teammates get into a fight without her, but because she was already in a position to push, Umbessa is able to trade her teammate's death for a tower. That's a great trade any day of the week. On the other hand, let's say your opponents send multiple players to collapse on you in a side lane. If you were pushing while your teammates were doing something else, then it won't matter if you die to multiple enemy players. Your teammates already being in position to get another objective on the map is worth trading your life for. This concept is super simple, but a majority of players fail at it. If you tunnel vision too much on what you want to do, you won't climb reliably. You need to pay attention to what your team wants to do as well. Here's an example of a player throwing their lead, not understanding this. In this match, Jace dominated his lane and is coming out of a base into a side lane to do our standard macro rotation. He wants to push, then rotate to his team. But as he pushes this wave, look at the map. Both Pyke and Cassiopeia clearly want to recall right now. This is why macro can be hard. Although this is a great time for Jace to move towards mid to make a play, his teammates are clearly wanting to do something else, but Jace doesn't care and moves towards mid anyway. Meanwhile, Pyke is still trying to base, while Cassio is standing really far back. So as Jace is arriving, he's picked off easily, because his teammates weren't ready to make a play with him. Going back, after you push a wave, always ask yourself, are my teammates ready to make a play based on what I want to do? If the answer is no, you want to find something else to do. For example, Jace could have matched their recalls, but he just came out of base, so he likely didn't want to. He could have also just done Krugs for one wave, waited for his team to get back out on the map, and then tried the same thing on the next wave. Or even something like setting a trap by pushing, then hiding in a lane brush to try and score a pick once someone came to push top. Basically, you're just looking to do anything but force an aggressive play right now. Now, let's take a look at some good players doing this properly. The Rumble this game is heading bot to defend against the wave Ryze is pushing into the tower. As he gets there, Rumble clears the wave, but let's take a look at mid since there's a ton of pings coming down from his team. They're all full HP, they all have ults, and they're posturing super aggressively in their opponent's faces. A fight is going to break out here for sure. So Rumble has 2 choices. He can push the next wave to follow our core strategy that we've discussed, or he can immediately collapse. If Rumble was already at the tower pressuring, it would be okay to stay down here because he'd be matching his teammates' tempo. So even if they got into a fight in mid, he'd be trading for the tower in bot. But because a fight is likely to happen fast and he's not yet pressuring anything, he goes to join his teammates instead. And it's a good thing he did. He shows in mid right as the enemy team was looking to turn the fight with their Jhin ult. With a couple of harpoons, he dissuades them from engaging and then helps his Shin secure dragon. This is what being a good teammate is all about. Unlike the previous Jace who only cared about what he wanted to do, this Rumble gave up a wave to defend his team because he knew they were looking for a fight. We're not saying to be completely selfless in every match, but in League, whichever team has a bit better synergy with each other is usually going to win. And even if it's just you putting in the effort, that's fine. One person putting in work is always better than 0. And hey, if you found this guide helpful, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Our brand new top lane essentials course covers everything you need to take over the most punishing role in the game, from building a winning champion pool to how to play every matchup to the exact wave control and macro rules that actually work in your solo queue games. Check it out today with a one-time exclusive discount using the link or pinned comment in the description below. And if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while using our course, you get every single penny back. For now though, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.